Let's hear Dan.
Last week was Ennis. He had a really good training camp last year.
Ennis would be another guy that stood out, by the way. All right, you mentioned that. And Laporta had a good spring, too. But, yeah, Rakestraw certainly was another guy. Keep going, sorry.
Just where do you see him fitting in? It's a pretty crowded DB room. I know you guys like the depth, but what are the opportunities for him this year?
It's up to him. He's got an opportunity. All right, we're going to play the best guy. I mean, that's what competition is about. I mean, and the whole roster knows that. Man, if you're the best guy, we're not going to just sit there and no. It's the best guy. So he's going to have a chance to compete. We'd like to keep him outside right now and just let him go. And, he had a good spring. And there again, we're in pajamas. But he's going to get a chance to compete and see how much he's grown and what kind of production he can have for us.
Why do you want to keep him on the outside right now? What is the thinking with him?
Well, I think we tinkered with some nickel last year, and it was probably a little too much too fast for him. And we felt like once we did some things with him outside practice, things of that, man, he really began to grow. And I think right now, that's where he really belongs. That's where he can really take off. And, the other thing, we still, between Amik, you got Branch, you got Maddox. Like, we've got some guys that can play nickel. Reed can play nickel, So I think right now that'd be the plan, and just let him take off.
Hey, we want to play the Amik. We got Amik on us too.
Yeah, let's do that, and then we'll talk about it, because just so we can get both the other way, because I feel like, I got a lot to say about the Ennis stuff. I don't know if you
All
guys
right,
do.
here's Amik Robertson on Ennis.
You see Ennis and how he's
Oh, wait.
Yeah,
Sorry.
that's it.
kind of step in and
I see the game is slowing down for him, man. It's slowing down for him, and I know when he come back, he's going to get even better, So I expect Ennis to take a huge jump this year, and I truly mean that.
How important is it for guys like TA and Ennis to take the next step for this secondary to just be top notch?
It only helps the team get better, man. Not only for themselves, but other guys, myself, DJ Reed, Branch, Kirby. It helps guys like that elevate their play too, as well. When you got the younger guys playing at a high level, we have no choice as the vets to play at a high level, So Terry on, we know he do his work behind the scenes, I expect, like I said before, I expect those two to take huge jumps.
There you go. Start nickel. Hey, hyping up Ennis and Dan Campbell. Boom. Both of them.
Yeah, I don't. All right, this is where I'm at with it. All right, because I heard you guys talking about it earlier, and I want you, obviously, you guys give your takes on this on crunch time. This is one of these situations where I'm like, in my mind, the room is deep, because Ennis Rakestraw, I think we all agree, second round pick, his ceiling is very high. Like, there's a reason. Like, if he wasn't injury prone, I think he would have been a first round corner. Like, it was just because of injuries he falls to the second round, and you get him. And if he's healthy, and the comment that really gets me, boys, and that really starts getting me thinking, is Dan being like, he's staying outside. Like, he's not going to nickel. Mm-hmm. And you would think in class, we've had this conversation, I think you brought it up, like, Ennis can play nickel. They seem pretty like dead set. Like, we're keeping him in that spot. He has to win a spot outside or he's not going to play. I think he's good enough, if he's healthy, to where his ceiling, he could start outside. And then I think if you genuinely, and this is a good problem to have, it turns into a situation, who's on the field? Like, do you move DJ Reed to nickel and you have Ennis and TA? Do you move Terrion Arnold to nickel? Do you take one of those guys out? You just paid DJ Reed. Like, I think if Ennis works out this year, and everyone keeps saying they think he's going to have a year 2 jump, if he stays healthy, I think it puts the Lions in like a very tough but very good predicament, which means you have really good players. But it's like, what do you do? Where does Amik land at that spot? Like, where does he go if you move DJ Reed to net? It's such a big question mark, to where if he does work out, it's a good thing for us, but it's also like, oh no, like, we have a lot of guys in this room. Where does Avonte Maddox go? You guys see what I'm saying here?
Yeah.
It's, how does this thing shuffle around if Ennis Rakestraw ends up being the second round pick that you think he is, that upside?
I'll say he, and I talked about expectations, and I think we have to bring it up when it comes to Ennis because there's two different sides. There's what I think of Ennis, which I like Ennis Rakestraw. I think he could be a contributor. I expect him this year to look like the second round pick. But then there's the reality of it. And I think what the Eagles did with their first and second round picks last year, especially taking the same position as the Lions, they took 2 DBs. Lions took 2 DBs. It puts a lot more pressure on Ennis, and I'll explain. Especially because he's a second round pick, and this isn't the NBA where second round picks are coming out of Lithuania, all right, or shout out maybe Australia, all right, and there could be some fine players out of Australia, Boone.
Shout out AT.
But there's
Bobby
still
Clipper.
second round picks in the NBA. It's like, okay, you don't expect that even to work out. You expect second round picks to work out in the NFL most of the time. And that's why we bring up Josh Pascal. Like Josh Pascal's almost done with his rookie contract. And he hasn't really shown anything, and that's fair. It's fair to be disappointed in that. With Ennis, though, with the Eagles taking Cooper DeJean and Quinion Mitchell, they know these two with 1 year are our future. Now, with corners, there can be times where they don't show it year one, and that's fine. Darius Slay didn't show it year one, but year two, guess what? He showed it. He showed it, and he showed why, hey, I'm a second-round pick, but I'm Darius Slay. He didn't fully grow, but he got way better. With Ennis Rakestraw, the reality is, I'm not waiting his entire 4 years to see what Ennis Rakestraw can be. You expect him to be good. Because they took him in the second round. They loved him. Like you said, Boone, he was a projected first-round pick. This isn't some fly. They didn't take a project, all right, not to go back, but another guy out of somewhere where you expect him to develop. But we're not even having that convo, Klotz. He played at Missouri, played in the SEC, guarded SEC wide receivers. Okay, so
that helps, right? That helps.
Hold on.
No. But my point is, there's no red shirt year. Okay, even last year he had injuries, but really, like, corner, you can give him a year, but I think that's about it. Like if Ennis Rakestraw doesn't show, like to what you're saying, Boone, like come out and if Taron Arnold gets banged up for a game and or DJ Reed and they put in Rocky Sin, I think it's an extreme disappointment. I think it's I think we can start having a conversation. It's like, what's going on with Ennis Rakestraw? Okay, and that's when, in my opinion, you don't have to do this. I'm going to start throwing around that B word. I'm serious.
Yeah.
Because I'm not waiting 3 years, basically almost until his rookie deal's almost up, to wait and see what he is. And I think wholeheartedly, my opinion, he's been working hard. He's healthy. I don't think that will happen. But the reality is that's what the expectation should be. In my opinion, I'm not saying he should start. It's hard. They have so many deep.
Dude.
They got so many corners, but he's got to be ready and they got to feel confident he can play in a pinch. Like
Hold
they
on.
got to.
What did you just say?
What
I don't
I
think
said a
he's
lot.
start.
I just wrote a note down. Doesn't need to start, needs to compete. I was gonna follow up. I was writing it down just because I wanted to let Klotz
It is a
go.
log jam. I'm not saying
But
the guy's got to beat out TA.
That's
or TJ Reed.
yeah. I think that's the best point on this whole show so far of anything we talked about is with Ennis. It's we don't like Klotz. I'm sorry. I'll let you. You can go after this. I apologize. It's just he doesn't need to. It is such a top heavy room, that corner room. You just signed DJ Reed for 17, 18 a year. You have a first round draft pick that was drafted 20 picks ahead of him in front of him that he's competing with. More than likely, he doesn't win an outside spot. But to that point, Jeff, it's the Rocky Sin, those guys. If a guy goes down or a guy needs a rest, Ennis needs to be the next man up. And I think at the end of the day, that year one to year two jump, that needs to be like very well, you need to be able to see it, in my opinion. Like it has to be visible. And I think it has to get to a point, maybe I'll go a step further, to where you notice that Ennis Rakestraw is competing and putting pressure on those guys to start. Not just like, hey, I'm a good backup. I want him to be putting pressure on TA. I want him to put pressure on DJ. I want him to be able to go out there and make those guys get that much better. Because last year, I don't know if you guys remember, before he gets hurt in training camp, he was playing nickel for a little bit, and he looked like one of the better players on that defense. He was making plays. He was getting turnovers. He was making hits, or he was laying hits on dudes. Like, he could play. So in my opinion, I expect Ennis to go in training camp and compete for a starting job. Do I expect him to win it? No, because you have some dudes in front of him. But put pressure on those guys. And if you come out and he wins it, dude, that's what I'm talking about with this secondary. If a guy like Ennis ends up winning a job, you know you have your best player in that position. And like force Dan Campbell and Kelvin Shepard and those guys to make a tough decision at the end of the day. Because then what happens if TA gets beat out? I don't think he will. I think he'll be a Pro Bowler. But what if he gets beat out? Now we're having the conversation with him. First round pick. How is your second round pick beating him out? You know?
Hey, what's going on there? It's Jeff Iafrate. Appreciate you for finishing the video. You can check out one of the videos here suggested or show support by commenting, liking, and subscribing. And buy your merchandise, officialctsports.com.